Good morning, everybody. How are we doing? So this morning, we're going to be talking about being that category of one. And if you've never heard that phrase, it was coined by a book, which I forget the name of, at 7 o'clock in the morning. But it was basically, how do you not just stand out, but become a preferred choice when there are a million other people in the same industry or with the same audience or doing the same thing as you. So nobody wants to be just another number in a sea of other people who do exactly the same thing. And it doesn't matter whether you're like me or you're in a completely different industry, you've got competition. And there are some industries where there's more competition than customers. For example, in the coaching industry, there are so many people that actually it's very difficult to stand out. And your industry might be the same. That there might be 10 of you or 20 of you or 100 of you or 10,000 of your people who do what you do. So how do you position yourself so you stand out? And I wanted to talk about not how to, but what dominoes need to fall over for you to reach that position of category of one. And when you reach that category of one, how does that help you actually get people wanting to work with you over somebody else? How does it create that preference for you? Now, if you've already joined these lives before, you'll know I am a fan of selling high value, low volume. In other words, it's not trying to sell thousands of things, but sell a small number of things to a small number of groups. It's easier, and it's easier for people who are not natural sales and marketing people. If you're not that comfortable with marketing yourself, the last thing you want to do is become a content creator and go crazy on LinkedIn. If you're good at what you do, you don't really want to have to become good at sales and marketing in the same way. And so having that category of one status basically also helps you become the preferred choice. It makes it easier to close. You don't have to be as, it's not a parade where you're up against other people. It's a very big differentiation. So what I've done is I've put some notes together for you to think about what needs to happen for you to become and end up in that category of one. And the first one you're not going to like is you've got to stop being a generalist. AI is a great generalist. Most of the problems that a generalist can solve, AI can solve. If it's been seen a million times before, if it's been documented on the internet a million times before, AI can solve it. That also means there's thousands of other people who could solve it. You've got a low barrier to entry. It's the experience, you're getting into a place where you're easily identifiable. And so this generalism really doesn't work. So AI can come for your lunch, an amateur can come for your lunch, and a competitor can come for your lunch. So you do not want to be a generalist. So you need to start thinking about moving from a horizontal to a vertical market. So look at, can you specialize in a particular industry? But also within that, well, I'll come to that later. So is there a particular target audience you could specialize in so that when that target audience sees you, they become associated, you're the expert in our industry, my industry for this. So you become the go-to person in their industry for that specific thing. So that is a way. And one of the great things about doing that is AI probably won't have as much documented internet experience that it's sucked into the LLM to be able to actually solve those problems in a specific way. Sure, AI knows everything on the internet, but there's a lot of things it won't know about specific verticals. It will know things in the round. But think about those verticals you could go into that would basically mean you could become a specialist in a vertical so that you become seen as the one. People prefer to work with experts who have experience in businesses like theirs. So if you own a vertical, that makes it easier. Next, and I hate this phrase, but I'm going to use it. You need to pick one bleeding neck problem. You can't become known and you can't command the bigger fees if you're not also defined by a problem you solve, because you want people to remember that as the foremost expert, the one and only person who solves this problem in our industry. You see, if you're selling high value, low volume, you might only need 20 clients, 30 clients in a whole year. And so if you think about that and you only need 20, 30, whatever that number is, because you're high value, low volume, what you're doing is basically making yourself such a specialist that you don't need a huge marketing effort. You don't need a million different clients, and you're not easy to compare with because you can talk specifically to that vertical and to that problem. So what's a bleeding neck problem? And the reason why I do use that word, even though it's a bit cheesy, is because often people pick problems that they're going to own as part of their category of one that nobody is motivated to solve. And so what they have to then do is kind of market the reason why you should solve it. And that's a bit harder. It's much easier to go, what's a recurring problem that happens in this vertical that's painful and expensive that I could own? And I'm going to be the go-to person for that problem. So you really want to think about that piece. Think about it. If you got 20 people, I don't know who's watching today, but let's say you got 20 people paying you $20,000, that's $400,000, and it's roughly 1.5 clients a month. A month. So think about, like, often you think, oh, well, if I talk to more people, I'll get more projects. Most of the people watching me don't need more projects. You need more high-value clients. High-value clients in less volume. You don't need like tons of them. And so if you've got a market and the market's like 1,000 people have that problem a year, you don't need much of that vertical. You've cornered a little piece of the internet, cornered a little piece of the market. And that helps you because now you can get really super specific in your profile, super specific in your website, super specific in your content, your blogs, your PR, the events you go to, everything you can end up being totally tightly associated with this vertical and this specific problem. And then you build a reputation, then you get more referrals, then you get more word of mouth because people know you as the go-to person for that. Whereas if you say, oh, I'm a marketing consultant, for an example, it's very difficult for people to go, oh, maybe you should talk to this person because they've got loads of experience. Just doesn't happen because the specialism's gone and the problem specificity has gone. Number 3 domino you need to knock over. You need a proprietary piece of IP. Now, what do I mean by this? Like, it's not just enough that people know you for a vertical and a problem. You have to have a mechanism that differentiates you and how you do it versus other people, a different approach to solving the problem. Now, we've talked about this before. It doesn't have to be 100% different. We're talking about 90%. It's your approach and your way of doing it. It doesn't have to be totally different to the other, but it has to be your way of doing it so that you can bundle that and package that. And one of the things that people miss is that they teach with their content, with their blogs, they teach the kind of how-to content and stuff, but there's no angle to it. If you think about it, if you go onto LinkedIn and go, right, this problem happens all the time, and I'm going to do a series of articles or posts about why my way of doing this will solve it better. Not my product or my service. My way of doing it will solve this problem better. So you're just advocating for your way, separate from your sales pitch. If people buy into your way, they have to buy from you. If they buy into your methodology is the best way to do it, the best way to solve that problem, the best way to get to an outcome, they have to buy from you because you are now defining the best possible solution and they're buying into it and agreeing with you. So if they agree with you, your way is the best way, they will judge everybody else by your standard. And their method will not be like yours. And so the first method that you share, and building that method out, that IP, allows you to differentiate yourself, not just about the vertical, not just about the problem, but how you solve the problem. You can advocate for that so that your content, your message, the way you do things is totally unique and different. Now, the other thing that you want to do as well is you want to reduce risk. Now, Alex Hormozy talks about, all these kind of guarantees, but in the B2B world, let's be real, there are no guarantees about anything. You can't guarantee anything. But what you can do is give people certainty and confidence that you know what you're doing. How do you do that? Well, now we've narrowed all those things down, you can actually start to share social proof case studies that are super relevant to that problem. So instead of you sharing a testimonial, oh, Dean's a great guy, he does this, or Dean did this for us, you can actually get really specific with your case studies, your social proof, your testimonials, so that they actually speak to exactly the same thing. So you're building this stack of other people who've said, Dean's great at this, you're great at this. And it's all consistent with the same problem. So it's building that reassurance without actually promising ridiculous things you can't keep or you can't guarantee. And I find when people put some guarantees on it, I know it's logically makes sense, and but often I find the people who are making the guarantees aren't credible. They're doing it to try and improve their credibility. What you need to do is speak to more mature buyers who realize everything's an investment and every investment carries risk. So you want to build that certainty, and you build that certainty by being consistent with your message, which you can now do, being consistent in terms of your presence. So they see the same you on LinkedIn, the same you on email, the same you in person. But you also seeing other people with the same problem in the same type of business have worked with you and had success. So you're building this picture of you're the only person I can work with because you are super specific. So, and then the bit that you want to really, I've got two more that I want to share. And I've made some notes on this one because you're not going to like this one. We're entering a phase right now where two things are happening at once. We've got AI and we've got this homogenization of people. There's a lot of sameness online. There's a lot of people just doing the same thing. In my industry, I get tagged in a post about these are the 50 top social selling experts on LinkedIn. Give them all a follow. And I get tagged in that today. And literally in a few days' time, another person will do the same thing. There's a lot of the same stuff going on everywhere. And so one of your assets, which will feel incredibly uncomfortable, is to actually be yourself online, the true you, and let your personality come out. It's terrifying because if you've worked in corporate, it basically erases your personality. Sorry, corporates, because it trains you to be basically avoid risk. The risk, if you're running a business, is that you blend in. It's not that you stand out. A risk that you stand out is everybody thinks of the cataclysmic scenario of what if I stand out and it goes horribly wrong and it destroys my career or God knows what. That's what everybody fears, which is, you'd have to be a dumbass to even get into that position, right? It's very difficult to actually do that to yourself, right? You'd have to willfully do it or be totally stupid. You can never really do that, right? It's almost impossible to do. You'd have to deliberately choose to do it. Some do, by the way, for the media attention. And that's probably what you've seen that's made you a bit nervous. What's worse is actually blending in, is actually looking like everybody else. That's far worse. So it is better for you to share your personality, Share who you are, get yourself out there with all the awkwardness and weirdness that might feel if you've never done it before, because you are unique. Even if me and my competitor sat here explaining the same points, I would do it differently even if we had the same viewpoint. Why? Because my personality, the way I express it, the way I put things would be different. And that is a point of connection. So because I say it the way I say it, some people will go, not for me. And some people will go, yeah, I like the way Dean does it. So putting your personality out there, your personal brand, who you are, might feel scary, but it's actually scary not to, because there's a bigger risk that you could blend in. So that's the uncomfortable one. And if you have been in corporate, you have been trained to basically eviscerate any personality and avoid risk. I'm telling you, the risk is you actually blend in. That's worse. I'll give you an example. I'm not the most loudest you might disagree with me this morning if you've just got up. I'm not the most loudest personality. I don't, I'm not dancing on TikTok and stuff like that. I think I am a little quirky, hopefully, but I don't think I'm the loudest personality. But I've had, over the years, maybe 10 comments, 10 negative moments. And in those moments, I thought, oh my God, that's going to ruin my life or destroy my business or whatever. Really hasn't. It felt like that in the moment, but it really didn't make any difference. So it's really difficult to actually get into that, oh my God, I've just ended my career kind of moment. So it's a bigger risk you not doing stuff. Yeah. And I've got one more point to make before I sign off. If you want to do well, you've got to stop doing one thing, and it's projecting. If you want to be a category of one, you've got to stop projecting your insecurities about showing up online, doing things online, whether it be outreach, content, stuff like this. I've done this for a long time, and I've seen what people do. They go, I'm worried I'm making a mistake. And rather than go, I feel uncomfortable about this, but that's okay, they project their worst fears onto their audience. So they go, well, what if I do this and it actually puts somebody off buying? And you can't operate in that hypothetical scenario where you create this imaginary situation, because you will always not do something because you've invented a straw man. You've invented a hypothetical situation to give you a reason not to do something, which is usually coming from your own insecurities. What if not doing this actually gets you somewhere? What if doing this puts you in front of somebody that you've never been able to reach? So there's all these fears that come out. And I can tell you, I've made some terrible mistakes doing lives like this. Nobody remembers them. There's a great little diagram I see it on Twitter quite a bit. And it's the same person sat on a bus, one on one side of the bus, looking out towards a big sun and view. And then the same person sat on the bus in the shadow, looking out towards a mountain top, and the bus is going round the mountain. And they're both saying basically the same thing. Nobody cares, right? Nobody cares. And I might have got this a little bit wrong, but nobody cares. There's two ways to take nobody cares. That one was nobody cares, what's the point, right? Or you go, nobody cares. Nobody's going to remember this. Not everybody's going to remember this. So if I make a mistake, it's going to be gone tomorrow. I've seen people, I tell people, go live every month and you'll be flooded with leads. You'll have full pipeline. And they go, ooh, won't live a month be too much? No. What if people don't like it? What if we annoy people? Oh, you can't live like that. You can't live under the shadow of hypothetical situations. So get yourself out there. And just to say, I was not this confident when I started doing this. The first time I did this, I had to have 3 gins to just come on camera. But you get used to it. I'm sat here, I've got a couple of bullet points on my laptop here, and I'm just sharing and being open. And I would say, you probably think, Dean, you feel like so relaxed because I've done it a lot. You don't get good at something by not doing it. You don't get good at something by kind of rehearsing it. You get good at something by doing it and get comfortable doing it. And then the final thing I want to share with you about the domino is, and I've had this and it's a difficult thing, you have to close the door. If you want to be that category of one, you have to choose to close the door on the other options. Because as long as you have that door open, you will open it every time you get scared. And so you won't actually make it work. By all means test, by all means validate, by all means research. But once you've researched and go, I am going to become the category of one in that industry, you have to close the door to the other things. You have to close the door to the wrong opportunities, even when it seems like it's good sense to do it, because you will always leave that door open. And so you will always hedge. And by that, I mean, you will always try and protect an exit point to, I could go and do that just in case. Which that sounds very sensible and very wise, but what you're actually doing is leaving space open in your head to go a different way. And so what that tends to mean is you're not fully committed to making this future work. You're not fully committed to being the category of one. And it will be scary when you get going because you'll go, what if this is wrong? I can remember when I decided to start doing workshops as part of my business, and I had no idea it would work. I had no idea, but I said, this is the way we're going, and I'm going to commit to finding a way to make that work. And the first few events failed. They flopped, but we figured out how to fix it, what to do. And then when the pandemic came, couldn't do them, we had to figure out what to do and adapt. And that's what you do. You have to be prepared to close the door. If you want to be a category of one, you have to close the door to be a category of many. Because you'll always open that door. You'll never truly embrace what you're trying to build. You'll go half-heartedly into the future, and as soon as there's an issue, you'll run back to that door and open it back up and go through it. And then you'll go, oh, I'm okay now. I'll come back out through the door and then try and progress it. And then, oh, no, there's another problem. Oh, I'm not sure about this. Oh, run back out. You can't do it. As much as it sounds like real wisdom, it really isn't, because you're never fully committed to a course. So I thought I'd share those dominoes with you today. I'll just recap them. Let me just scroll up so you can see them, because I know some of you joined a little bit later. So number one, you've got to kill yourself as a generalist and own a vertical. Number two, you need to find that bleeding neck problem and really choose to define yourself by that problem and how you offer services by that problem. Number three, you need your own IP, your unique methodology that you can promote and advocate for. So when people buy into it, you're the only choice. Number four, you need to reduce the risk by showing that being consistent in both your presence, your message, but also in the case studies and testimonials you share, so people can see you've done this for other people before. And number five, which is the most uncomfortable one. Number five is the personal branding. Get yourself out there, be yourself. In a world of AI and everybody using AI, being yourself and being human is a big, major asset that you want to leverage. And then the final domino, the sticky one, is make sure you close that door and you don't walk through it, because you've got to make that category of one work. And as long as you've got an off-ramp, you'll take it. So that was me today. Thank you so much for joining me. Just to say, those of you who volunteered for the guinea pig experiment, I will be messaging you today. So check your inboxes. I'll send it to you for that new thing that I'm doing. I got some volunteers yesterday to do that. I got all your messages. Thank you so much. It was a very crazy day yesterday on LinkedIn, but I will send that to you, and I'll see you hopefully tomorrow.